Having established a relationship with Boston, Adam was eager to continue to deepen their connection after that night. However, no matter whether Adam tried to contact Boston by phone or by message, he didn't even get a response, which hurt Adam, so he went to Boston himself after some drinks to seek an explanation. Boston doesn't disappoint, showing the bad guy side. As usual, he explains to Adam that they were just fulfilling each other's needs that night. He wants Adam to let go of that night. Boston told Adam not to have any unrealistic expectations or further developments. Ray inadvertently learns where the two of them are camping from Nick's social media platforms. That night, he drove for hours over the mountains to find them. Once they reached their destination, he suggested that the three of them go to bed together. This made Nick, who was there, feel very embarrassed, as if he had become an extra light bulb. Early the next morning, before dawn, Nick left the scene in a hurry. Mew's mothers arrive suddenly and early. They enter the room and are surprised to find that Mew has started smoking. With a worried look on their faces, they ask their sons if they had encountered any problems recently. However, Mew deliberately hides the truth and just tells them not to think too much about it. He avoided the subject again with the excuse that he was going to take a shower. This is very worrying for mothers. This time, Mew's mothers plan to head to a nearby mall and buy some holiday decorations. While waiting for a cab, they met Tom. As soon as he saw Mew's mothers in need of help, Tom immediately came forward to say hello, and he offered to transport them to and from shopping. This made Mew's mother very happy and accepted Tom's help without hesitation. They didn't give their son, who was on the sidelines, a chance to refuse at all. Saen expresses his liking for Ray directly to him. However, since Ray hasn't quite let go of Mew, Saen told him he wouldn't be forced to make any choices. However, if another suitable object comes along in the future, Saen wouldn't have been bitter enough to fight for Ray's name. Rather, he will decisively end his relationship with Ray and move on to a new romance. The most frustrating part of the procurement process for Mew was Top, because Top's words, actions, and demeanor were very pleasant to his mother. When mothers pick out merchandise, Top takes the opportunity to be alone with Mew in the hope that he will find the wonderful person he once was. It doesn't matter if his efforts don't end up saving their relationship. Nick confesses to Saen on a camping trip that he wants a break from his failed unrequited love, so he decided to give himself and Dan, who works with him, a chance. The two agreed to go to a bar to relax and drink and dance. During the entertainment, Nick notices Boston interacting with a man in the distance. They then enter the men's restroom together, so Nick left his seat under the pretext of going to the bathroom. He heads to the men's room for one last exchange with Boston. Nick suddenly interrupts Boston's romantic moment. He told Boston that two would probably not see each other again in the future. He wishes Boston the best of luck as a photographer. He then turned back to his seat and continued to enjoy happy hour with Dan. Saen and Ray are outdoors at night, enjoying a glass of wine and a meal. Meanwhile, Ray is getting clear about his heart as he pursues love. He opens up to Saen about his feelings for him, and the two had a great time that night in the campervan. Naturally, Mew is not surprised when confronted with Ray's cheating. Not only did he not hesitate to support Ray in his relationship with Saen, and he thinks it's the best choice Ray has ever made in his life, Mew also candidly tells Ray that she dated him on impulse. He was simply trying to use Ray to piss off Top. The two eventually decided to part ways peacefully as friends. Regarding whether Mew intends to give Top a chance to get back together, Ray is supportive. He adds that if Top fails Mew again, he'll get someone to teach Top a lesson. Mew went to Chime immediately after her conversation with Ray. After promising Chime that he would stop messing around, he managed to convince her to continue running the venture together. Friendships were repaired. Mew plans to go to Top next. However, the search turned into a fierce competition because he accidentally finds out that Top's ex-boyfriend has joined in. Confronted with the fact that Top is letting his ex stay at his house, Mew feels very uncomfortable about it. However, Top insisted that he and his ex are now just friends, and they live together and nothing happened to cross the line. In addition, Top was delighted that Mew was willing to come to him. He sees it as Mew's move to give him a second chance. Then after kissing Nick at the bar that night, he decides to work overtime and express his desire to continue the relationship to Nick. However, Nick, who has had his feelings hurt before, doesn't give a clear answer, but he wasn't averse to a more intimate move with Dan. So that night, they had a passionate time in the office. Saen wants Ray to go to the hospital to stop drinking for his health. After much deliberation, Ray proposes a quid pro quo to Saen. If Saen is able to identify with his real father, then he will promise to quit drinking for Saen's sake. In retaliation for Boston's ruthlessness, Adam concocts a lie. He tells his sister Chime that he was tricked by Boston and took the picture. After hearing this, Chime angrily says he will get justice for his brother. The next day, Chime traveled with Ray and Mew to their home in Boston. In addition to helping the Adam recapture the photographs taken, Chime also decided to drop Boston from the forced graduation report. and she is going to announce that she will not remain friends with him in the future. Saen takes Ray to the bar where his real father works at night. Originally, Ray intended for Saen to identify with his father. Ray interrupts Saen as he's about to open his mouth. It stated that it was up to Saen to decide if he wanted to do this. As for his own offer, he's willing to bet on going sober. Top's predecessor, Bowen, was nothing short of shady. Not only did he seek out the bar when he was there, he shared a table with Mew and others. At night, when Mew browses his community and gives him likes, he also sent an immediate message asking if he was free to come over to Mew's house to discuss botany together. Dan comes to Nick's store and takes advantage of the two being alone. He expressed his interest in Nick directly to Nick and got Nick's approval. Originally, Dan was about to kiss Nick, but unfortunately a customer suddenly enters the store and breaks their romantic atmosphere. So Dan decides to leave first and wait for the right time before continuing to pursue Nick. Just as he was leaving, Boston walked into the store. When he sees Dan, he curiously asks Nick about their relationship. Upon learning from Nick that they were just co-workers, he uses the excuse that he needs to replace his cell phone case and glass sticker and asks Nick to help him make his choice. He then purposely showed Nick that it was his picture that was placed on the lock screen background image. Bowen came to Mew's house. He began by making it clear that he had no interest whatsoever in Top, then states that Mew appeals to him more than Top. With those words, Bowen walked up and kissed Mew. Then he whispers, Mew is so nice it's not worth it to be possessed by Top like that. Why not work with him and together make Top feel revolted? Ray happened to witness Saen and his father talking in the living room. He mistakenly believes that Saen has come to persuade him to reform because he accepted money from his father. The thought made him increasingly angry. So the next day, he reached out to Saen to vent his feelings. He doesn't give Saen any chance to explain at all, just rushes off after he's done venting. Top takes Mew to a water activity. He didn't realize Mew had invited Bowen to join him. After the event, in the bathroom, Top asks Bowen about his current intentions. However, Bowen makes no bones about the fact that he is ready to pursue Mew and compete with Top. He also makes light of the fact that he's already kissed Mew. It shocked Top beyond belief. Nick senses that Boston is preoccupied and takes it upon himself to approach him in the evening for a chat. He learns that Boston has been abandoned by his friends and regrets that he ever hurt them. Nick reassures him that he just doesn't know how to love people properly. Boston expresses his thoughts about Nick. Nick is this, once again, unreservedly emotionally involved. He disregarded the risk of Ray injury under. Once again, he didn't hesitate to give his all to Boston that night. Ray comes home angry and ready to drink again. Unable to watch, his father could only quickly snatch his glass. In Saen's defense, the father said that people had no intention of taking my money. Everything he does is out of concern for you. Ray was counseled by his father not to push away those who treat you genuinely. After learning the truth, Ray realizes he was wrong about Saen, so he decided to continue his sobriety treatment, and he apologized to Saen in his confession, thanking him for being there for him. Mew and Bowen come to an agreement and decide to retaliate against Top. However, when Top makes an appointment to meet Mew, Mew refuses his request to meet. I didn't realize that Top had reached out to Mew while he was waiting for Bowen at the diner. Top questions why Mew is teaming up with Bowen to get back at himself. Top reluctantly admonishes Mew that he has realized the mistake and is trying to change. He hopes to get back together with Mew. He doesn't understand why Mew went back on her word after she clearly chose to get back together. If he really can't forgive, he can't choose to separate. These words left Mew speechless. After a passionate affair with Boston, Love Brain Nick is once again in trouble. When the senior made a pass at Nick, he actually politely rejected the senior's advances for that irresponsible man. This left the Hokage standing in place with a bewildered look on his face. Ray, after learning of the misunderstanding, Saen is unable to get to Saen directly due to his inability to do so. He then headed straight to where his mom worked. Then with his mom's enlightenment, Ray realizes that Saen cares so much about him. He then found Saen and apologized. The two hugged each other tightly, tears welling up in their eyes, and just like that Ray was forgiven. In the evening, they took a bath together and poured their hearts out to each other. Bowen, the provocative ex-boyfriend, has been feeding Mew negative ideas. He goes on and on about Top's various shortcomings. He also tells Mew he won't be Top's last because he's never been in a relationship with anyone for more than 3 months. Since Mew was questioned by Top the day before, he may have been trying to get away. With a clear head, he questioned Bowen in turn. You didn't approach me because you liked me, but because you wanted to get back at Bowen. You were so hurt by him that you tried to use me to get what you wanted. Recognized for his tricks, Bowen leaves after giving his blessing against his will. Love comes first for Nick, as he tries to help his beloved Boston clear up the misunderstandings in his friends' minds. He took it upon himself to approach Adam, who was waiting to be wooed. Unsurprisingly, Adam was quickly impressed by a few words from Nick. Adam then followed to the men's room. To his surprise, however, it was a deliberate trap set by Nick and Boston. Boston questioned why Adam had set himself up. Eventually Adam apologizes for the lies he told about having wanted Boston. Nick also reassures him that it's okay to love anyone, but don't fall in love with a bad man. Saen accompanies Ray to a benefit on drunk driving, and he patiently counseled him not to drive under the influence in the future. He emphasized that Ray would not only cause harm to himself, but could also endanger innocent people. Eventually, the two agreed to quit drinking and prepare for the festival together. Top wasn't really angry. When Mew gets home, Top arrives at the invitation of Mew's mom. Mew realizes what she and Boeing have done to Top. He had hoped to renew the relationship. Ultimately, Top worries that after giving his heart, he may be hurt again by Mew's distrust. This also led to a bad break between the two. During the night, however, Top takes it upon himself to reconcile with Mew. This could be because Top really loves Mew and doesn't want to be separated because of outside factors. Finally, the two fell asleep in a tight embrace. Adam took the initiative to admit his mistake to his sister in the evening after realizing his problem. However, when Nick learns that Boston is preparing to leave the country, their newly improved relationship once again leaves Nick in a state of disappointment. Boston promised Nick that Nick would remain his boyfriend until he left the country. With a kiss from Boston, Nick is once again soothed by sweet words. Mew and Top have just gotten back together, and Top can't wait for Mew to leave with him. However, to ensure a lasting relationship with Mew, Top agrees to give Mew some time to think about it. Later that night, Bowen, the pick of the litter, comes back to the bar looking for Saen, and not coincidentally, Ray is there too. To assert his sovereignty, Ray claims to be Saen's boyfriend. Bowen didn't back down from that statement. Worried that Bowen's words might rub Ray the wrong way, Saen temporarily sidetracks Ray. Bowen then initiated a gesture of goodwill and wanted a fresh start with Saen. On his way out, he also deliberately teases Saen, which Ray coincidentally bumps into. Ray, who had intended to give Saen a ride home, was turned away. Ray then invites Bowen to his house for a drink, and Bowen happens to want to get to know Ray. Saen is forced to follow, fearing that the two will fall into conflict. At a pool party for three, Bowen unabashedly compliments his ex-boyfriend Saen to Ray's face. Bowen praised him for being so unique and thoughtful. Ray defiantly chimed in that people should learn to appreciate it. This confused Saen, who was next to him. Just then, Ray suddenly asks if Saen is still in love with Bowen. The question made Saen feel very embarrassed and want to leave. Bowen, however, pulls Saen close, insisting that he choose between the two. It makes Saen want to find a place to hide. Ray suggests that if you can't decide, then kiss to see who you feel more in tune with. Bowen then wasted no time in coming up and kissing Saen, and not to be outdone, Ray followed suit. Surprisingly, Bowen stood by, gazing straight at the two men, to help Saen make his decision. Bowen and Ray surprisingly start kissing as well. This was too much for Saen to take and he turned away. A jealous Ray then catches up with him and questions if Saen is still in love with Bowen. Why discuss going to a concert together if you don't love it? That left Saen speechless. Then Saen questioned Ray, aren't you still in love with Mew? The two of them just argued with each other about who they really loved. The next day, Mew shares with Ray and Chime that Top invited him to move in with him. He sought the advice of his two friends. Chime did not hesitate to show his support, believing that living together would make the bond stronger. Ray, however, objects to Mew moving in with Top on the grounds that he cares for his friend. During the trio's discussion, Ray inadvertently mentions that Bowen is Saen's ex-boyfriend. This leads Mew to tell Ray about what happened between himself and Bowen. As the trio exits the classroom, they are surprised to see Boston, who is preparing to check out of school. When Chime learns of this, he mistakenly assumes that Boston dropped out of school because he didn't have a program to take pity on. She again decided to include Boston in their program. However, Chime made this decision because his brother revealed the truth to her. He also apologized to Boston and admitted that he shouldn't have had him. And Boston is no longer concerned about that. He's more concerned about their friendship. Top went to a lot of trouble to get Mew to move in with him. Redraw the design to Mew's needs so that Mew can move in comfortably. And the reason Mew is hesitant is that he doesn't want to feel underwritten. After Top's sappy attack, Mew eventually reluctantly agrees. On the other hand, Boston invites Nick to skate with him and does what a couple should do. The ensuing chat between the two gives Love First Nick the urge to accompany Boston abroad. He was probably worried that Nick would hold him back from going abroad to continue his madness, and decisively found a reason to turn Nick down. With a few sweet words, he coaxes Love First Nick to be happy again. Top finally gets his wish to live with Mew. In the evening, Bowen comes with tickets to a concert of Ray's favorite band. Just as he tries to coax Saen to join him, Ray quickly grabs the tickets, followed by Mew and Ray's questioning. Bowen's little mind is revealed once again and he leaves in embarrassment. Eventually Ray and Saen reconciled as well. Boston is fulfilling his responsibilities as a boyfriend as promised. However, Boston unexpectedly encounters a dejected Bowen at the bar, drinking alone. The prodigal son is, after all, the prodigal son, and takes down Bowen in a few words. But Nick stumbles upon the moment when the two men kiss passionately. The love-it-away vibe he had been feeling disappeared instantly, and he left disappointed. And when Boston finds him, Nick unabashedly vents all his frustrations. For Boston, however, there was nothing wrong with the kiss, and he was unrepentant about it. With the new year approaching, 3 couples throw a party, yet only Boston is alone. After Boston's sincere apology, his friends forgive him, yet Mew never got over it. In the ensuing game, Mew surprisingly suggests that Saen and Tanawat, who chose their kiss, I didn't expect quite the reaction from the two. Eventually Mew and Ray had to go up and separate them. The men's and women's groups then prepared to head out to watch the fireworks. Mew eventually puts her foot down and invites the lone Boston. And just then Nick arrived on the scene. The 6 arrived at their destination together and began discussing their New Year's resolutions. Together they counted down to the fireworks. When the fireworks ended, each of the 3 pairs dispersed to enjoy the romantic moment. Ray and Saen talk cheerfully about their New Year's resolutions. When Boston presents the photo to Nick, who didn't expect love first, finally comes to his senses. He sent Boston a good guy card and left. Top and Mew, on the other hand, showed the audience's favorite images. In the end, they ended the messy friendship perfectly. That's the end of the story. Thanks for your enjoyment and support, and we'll see you in the next installment.